Hello, I thought it was a good time to hop on here and do a little vinyl video as I've got some very exciting stuff very recently. I think we'll start off with Mika, like Life in Cartoon Motion. I was very happy to pick this up on vinyl recently, and it was put out by Music on Vinyl, who kind of do pressings of albums that are a little bit rare or haven't been done on vinyl yet. And they've really sort of transferred this album over to vinyl very well. It's amazing getting to see this artwork really big for the first time. I always thought the production of the album was really high quality, and it really transfers over to vinyl very well. So I think some people will probably turn their nose up at this album a little bit, if you're, because it is a very sort of well-known pop album. But I just think Mika is just such a unique character. And like with a lot of things from my childhood, I sort of very much appreciate this a great deal more now than I did then. I think personal highlights on this album for me would be In Any Other World, or the song Happy Ending, which is a masterful, emotive, very beautiful pop song, which kind of turns into a gospel number towards the end of it. I was very pleased that with this particular pressing that they included the hidden track, Over My Shoulder, which was this really sort of eerie, mournful kind of tune, which was hidden away on an album full of really bubbly, colourful pop songs. And that sort of added an element of mystique to the whole thing, which really fascinated me as a 7-year-old when this came out. But the album is just a total classic in my opinion. It's probably in my top 100 albums. I just love so much. It's just, I can't tell you how much I like this album. He invents all these little characters for each of the songs, and it's just so unique. He really is such a unique character. He's sort of a weird sort of mix of like Freddie Mercury and Prince, but he is still an original. He's still Mika, Mark 1. He's a very sort of flamboyant sort of performer. So yeah, really happy getting this album. I love all of the artwork that comes with it. It's bloody marvellous. I think his sister did a lot of the artwork and photography and so on for it, and it really does match the tone of the album, the music on the album. Okay, another one that you may not really resonate with is 21 Pilots Vessel. This is I suppose personal nostalgia plays into it quite a lot, the same with the Mika album. I just love the type of melodies they write. It's just, I can't describe it. It's just pop music that resonates with me a great deal. You can't really explain why it is that you love something. You just do. But there's a lot of really sort of fun little bit crushed synths. The drumming's really good. I like all the albums that they did after this one, but this was always the favourite. I like the self-titled one as well. That one's really good, from 2009. For me, I think my favourite track, it's difficult to choose a favourite track, but I always really liked Semi-Automatic, and I like it comes, I think this was a new thing for 2022. They've put it on a sort of silver, sort of see-through vinyl. A lot of people were saying that the original pressing sounded horrible, so I checked this one out and it does sound pretty good. But I suppose you could argue that this sort of music isn't necessarily complemented on vinyl, because it's not very, analog recorded, because it uses a lot of computer synths and so on. But yeah, that sounds good enough to me, for me to put it in my collection. I went and picked this up from the Rough Trade in West London as a little adventure, and I think I probably need to give it a few more listens. The concept was Sufjan Stevens and his pal basically watched a load of movies, and every song was inspired by a different movie, which is a really interesting concept for an album, I think. It hasn't quite got through to me yet. I don't like it as much as a lot of his other albums, but I do love The Pillar of Souls and Olympus. Those songs are very beautiful. It comes with a load of really lovely art. So yeah, I need to give this another few listens, I think. Got it on this lovely yellow pressing. I'm sure that the black one probably would have sounded a bit better, but coloured vinyl is fun. Next up, the Scissor Sisters. I Really, really want the Scissor Sisters debut album on vinyl, but it seems to be really sought after at the moment. I think it's been a while since they've done a reissue of it. That's just one of my favourite albums from my childhood. But you can get this was one of the singles from the album, Mary. It's one of the best songs on the album. It's very, very sort of 70s Elton John piano ballad type thing, but it's just a phenomenal song. I love the artwork. I think it's bloody lovely. Really, really like the artwork. It actually has a really good remix on the B-side. I often find that a lot of remixes you'll get on B-sides aren't very good, but the one on this one is really good. It sort of reminds me of sort of Fortet style production, but they've really, really messed up the song and totally changed a lot of it. It's a very, very heavy record for just a 12-inch single. I was quite surprised by that. The song had a really, really brilliant music video as well. I hope to get the album at some point, but that's really, really good just to have for now. I went ahead and picked up Definitely Maybe by Oasis, which is one of those sort of classic albums that I've always had in my life but have never had on vinyl. One from my childhood that I have a lot of memories with. I think for me, Oasis don't get any better than this. This is like by far the best one. It's just so psychedelic and noisy and chaotic. And I love the very sort of blue filter you get on the sleeve. Interestingly, for both Definitely Maybe and What's the Story, they were too short to be a single album. Sorry, too long to be a single album, but also too short to be a double album. So subsequently, you have a bonus song right in the middle of the album. And I think that this one you've got Sad Song, which is a Noel Gallagher acoustic-y number. I think if you were listening to this album sort of in a digital format all the way through it wouldn't work, but because it's divided into sides, I think it really nicely works after Columbia. But this album is just packed with unbelievable songs. I particularly love Slide Away and Married with Children. I really love Digsy's Dinner, and a lot of people really don't like that song. It's really, really sort of psychedelic. You almost think that maybe they were sort of inspired by My Bloody Valentine a little bit on that one. I couldn't really buy that one without getting this one, What's the Story. I got these both in a deal from a website, and I think they were about £21 each. But I always thought that if I was going to get these, I'd probably get them together because they sort of go hand in hand. This is the one that had all the big hits, obviously. This is a really great street in real life to go record shopping. You can actually see a little sign that says Reckless Records, which is a lovely little record shop that I've been to. I think this was done, I think originally Liam and Noel were going to be on the cover, but because they had to do it at like 5 a.m, that obviously wasn't going to happen. And on this one you've got Bonehead's Bank Holiday as like the bonus track, which I really like. It's sort of a novelty song. Some people speculate that they were sort of taking the piss out of Blur a little bit with that one, because it's very different from a lot of other Oasis tunes. So quite a lot of the ones I've got coming up came on a deal from WH Smith's, where you would, if you spend over £50 with them, they'll reduce £12 off of your final bill, which is quite a phenomenal deal, really. I was getting all these double albums and all these really classic vinyl albums for like £15-16 each. I don't know if the deal's going on anymore, but it was really exciting when like 4 records would turn up in the post at once. So I picked myself up a copy of Amnesiac by Radiohead. This is one of the weirder, more understated albums from the band. I can sort of see how it's a little bit inconsistent and odd, and some of it is a little bit indulgent, but I think that there's some fantastic stuff on here. It's obviously not in the same league as Kid A or OK Computer, but I've always been a massive Radiohead fan and pretty much liked all of their albums. I've pretty much got I've got all the main ones. The only ones I don't have are Pablo Honey or King of Limbs, because those ones are a bit crapper. I really like. I think Life in a Glass House is very beautiful. Like Spinning Plates is really good as well. It does sort of give the feel of a sort of the sort of leftovers from Kid A. It does sort of shine through that that's kind of what it is, but at the same time it does really have its own character, and it is a special album. I quite like the version of Morning Bell that you get on here. I think that's quite eerie. it's a very eerie album. It's quite sort of surreal and nightmarish, I think. And I think the video for Knives Out really sort of supports that atmosphere. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's brilliant. You know, I like most Radiohead albums. Kid A and Amnesiac were only on 10-inch vinyl when they originally came out for years, and it's only in quite recent years that they've brought out proper 12-inch versions of them. Because I'm not really into 10 inches because you have so few of them, and they don't fit with all the rest of your records because they're just too small. So I don't really collect them. So I was pleased to pick this up on 12-inch. And it does. I mean, I think the album's maybe a little bit too short to have over a double record, because you are literally changing it every 2 songs, which is slightly annoying. In that deal, I also got Dirty Mind by Prince. This album is absolutely solid. I think that I really love early Prince because it really demonstrates his talent as a multi-instrumentalist and producing everything. The instruments are so tight and everything is just so well established. I gave this a listen yesterday and it really is that enjoyable, and it's a fantastic sounding reissue. Really, really good sound. Quite a bizarre album cover. I really would like to pick up more of his early albums, sort of pre-99 and Purple Rain. My favourite tune on this album is probably Sister, which is a very interesting song about incest. I also love When You Were Mine, which was covered by Cyndi Lauper. Yeah, well, this album isn't like really funky, it's just got like some really good like pop tunes on it. I also picked up Head on the Door by The Cure. I think this is one of those albums that it doesn't muck about, it's just sort of 10 really good songs back to back. The big singles off of this one were In Between Days and Close to Me, but I really love Push. I think Push is a really, really gorgeous tune, and I like 6 Different Ways. That's a really, really lovely little song. I picked up this Mogwai album. I think I mostly got it for the artwork. I think the artwork is absolutely fantastic. I think it's a really solid post-rock album. Probably one of the group's better albums, I think. As I say, I did mostly buy it for the artwork. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a few more Mogwai albums. They're quite a good band. Sort of one of the better post-rock bands, sort of the classic sort of 90s, 2000s post-rock era. And the actual album, I really like. The whole album's great, but I think I quite like Glasgow Mega Snake and Travel is Dangerous, I think is the one. Can't always remember which song equates to which title. But the actual album only comes over 3 sides, which is quite common. If an album wasn't necessarily designed to go on vinyl, it'll be sort of a funny length to put over 4 sides or 2 sides or whatever. So as a result, you have an etching on side 4, which is quite pleasant. Quite like that. It's also I've got a Boards of Canada album that also has that. And finally, I picked up a copy of The Doors' L.A. Woman. I hadn't really got into this one, but someone I know was sort of raving about it, and so I thought I'd get it. I saw it for about £16 or so, and The Doors are obviously a very classic band. I'm sure that this record normally comes with sort of the corners cut out of it, so this must be just a generic reissue. I gave this a spin this morning, thought it was a really, really good album. I particularly like the title track L.A. Woman, but I also quite like L'America, and obviously everyone knows Riders on the Storm. The other day I picked up a copy of Pink Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This is a really lovely reissue. It really sort of gives the feel of an old 60s copy, even down to the sort of laminated folded edges. I didn't know that this image was a thing until I looked this up the other day before I got the record, and it was done by Syd Barrett. I really love the Syd Barrett stuff. I love sort of the absurdity of a song like Bike or The Scarecrow or The Gnome. There's just a really unadulterated feel, and it's a shame that there isn't more of it out there. I'm sort of endlessly fascinated and saddened by the whole sort of Syd Barrett saga and the story of Pink Floyd. There's a few indulgent moments on this album, but I think the highlights more than make up for it, and I'd like to collect a lot more Pink Floyd albums, at least all the really good ones. Lastly, I found myself a lovely copy of System of a Down, Toxicity. This is probably in my top 10 albums of all time. The musicianship is so tight, it's unbelievable. It's like the greatest musicianship I've heard on any album. Everybody knows Chop Suey, that's obviously a gorgeous piece of music, but as a kid I always loved the really quick sort of punchy songs like Bounce and Shimmy. I'm pleased that they included the hidden track on here that was originally on the CD, so I think that adds a little bit to the album. But even down to the choice of songs and the track listing, it's a perfect 10 out of 10 album, I think. And I love how surreal and menacing Serj Tankian's voice is, particularly on this album. It is quite bizarre, it's unusual, there's nothing else like it. But yeah, it's fantastic. A lot of these records are just really great classic albums from my childhood, and it's just great to have them on my favourite format. So that was all the stuff that I've picked up recently. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll be doing more of this sort of thing very soon. So thank you very much.